morning, welcome to Line by Line Bible Studies. My name is Paul Strangini, etc., etc. We're continuing in the fifth trumpet. We started digging into it yesterday, and I don't know, sometimes I think that I need to divide these studies differently, because I just feel a good half of that study was taken up with finishing chapter 8, and I'd like to stop recapping everything all the time, and I'm not going to recap everything by any means, but it just feels we're just picking right up in chapter 9. And so I'm going to read the whole chapter again real quick, because just so it's in our, not the whole chapter, the whole trumpet, the fifth trumpet. It just feels weird starting without explaining anything, and whatever. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven to the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there rose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their breastplates, and their faces were as the faces of men, and they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions, and they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and their stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. Yesterday we identified Apollyon the destroyer with the son of perdition. At least there's a connection there, because the Greek word is the same, essentially. Not the exact same word any more than destruction and destroyer are the same word, but very much in the same way that they are of the same root. And so let's start with verse 1, looking through this in detail. One of the things you notice, the other stars... Well, there's a star that comes from heaven in the third trumpet. It fell upon the, and it is identified, even if only symbolically, as an it, and not as a he. Whereas here it is clearly he, because this star that falls from heaven is the angel of the bottomless pit. And angels and stars can represent angels symbolically. We saw that in chapter 1 with the 7 stars in his right hand. In the right hand of the Lord, the 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 candlesticks are the 7 churches. It reminds me of when I was doing that, I was like, well, whatever. It was just having to do with the candlesticks. I realized that for some people, a candlestick is a candle, but it means like a lampstand. Not for an electrical lamp, but for a oil lamp. So okay, yeah. So I talked last time. Now this is where I think it becomes more symbolic, and it sort of lets you know right away. Where it says, let's say more reliably symbolic. And it kind of lets you know right away by saying the star fell from heaven and he. So we know that the star is not merely a thing, but it is the angel of the bottomless pit. Now, whether I'm sticking my neck out to get sliced by someone who knows Greek and is going to tell me that he is actually also an it, or that it's a genderless pronoun that is only determined by context, my knowledge does not go that far. So that could be a point. That could be not a point. But I will assert from contextual considerations that it isn't he, because it is the angel of the bottomless pit, and this star represents him. Okay. So he is given the key of the bottomless pit. All the powers of the devil are things he's authorized. He's given authority. In chapter 13, when the beast that rises out of the sea and the beast that rises out of the earth appear, to them are given power that they could, and power was given to him to over the fourth part. Give what? I don't know, that line is escaping me. While mouth was given unto him, speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given to him to. Oh, why am I? Must be too soon. Should have drank more coffee before I started. I want that line. I'm just gonna go ahead and go there real quick. It's right, because I was listening to this last night. Well, like when he says he exercises all the power of the first piece that came before him. What was the first line? And power was given to him. Where is it? And it was given to him to make war with the saints. I think I'm confusing lines, quite frankly. When it says he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and he had power to give life to the image of the beast, and power to bring fire down from heaven in chapter 13, that is all a reference to, not a reference, the word is exousias, and it means authority. Things are given to him. All the powers of Satan are not innate. He doesn't have innate power, but he is authorized to do things. That's very critical, because it helps you understand that Satan is under God's power. He can't do anything. There's nothing he can do except it be given to him. That's why the world isn't like, people act as though Satan has an unrestricted power in the world, or somehow, or to some degree. Like when he tempted Jesus, he said it was given to him to give whoever, he said, he showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And he said, I can give this all to you if you will just bow down and worship me. And that was the temptation of Christ. But does Satan, is he always able to do that? Is every president just whoever he wants it to be? Is every king whoever Satan wants it to be? Or was it for that moment when he tempted Christ that he was given authority to do that? Or that it is whenever it is given to him, he can put whoever he wants. It's not this, I don't think it's this blank check. He doesn't have a blank authority over the earth. Like, just do whatever you want. But in the book of Revelation, he has authority to do many things that he does not currently have authority to do. That's why it says in chapter 12, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil has come down unto you, having great wrath, for he knows that he has but a short time. The scene where Satan is cast out of heaven, a lot of people put that scene back in like the time of Christ. Like when he ascended to heaven, he had victory and threw Satan out. Now, I don't really see that. Jesus ascended in victory. I don't think that has something that's happened. He has but a short time. I mean, even 1,000 years or 10,000 years is a short time in the overall scheme of things. But I think that refers to a much shorter period of time. So here we have so basically he goes down to the bottomless pit, the pit of the abyss. And we know that what comes out of the pit of the abyss is a beast, because in chapter 11 it says, "This is that the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them and shall overcome them and kill them." Now, that almost makes it feel like there's three beasts. I don't know that I'm not saying there are three beasts, but because in chapter 13, the first beast comes up out of the sea, the second beast comes up out of the earth, quite specifically. And they are distinct in that way. They are distinct in their appearance. But I do believe they both refer essentially to the same thing, just different aspects of the same thing. And I think this beast also refers to different aspects of the same thing. And the word beast here is not the same as the four beasts, the four living creatures that are surround the throne of God. But this is rather therion, and I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but it means a wild beast. And when we say beast, what we think of, like, he's a beast. So, out of the bottomless pit comes forth this, the smoke. And smoke is, when you have smoke and symbolism, it can be many things. It is, earlier, it was the prayer of, the incense was offered with the smoke of the prayers of the saints, and it came up before God. Like, we have the idea of smoke signals. They can be used to signal things. Smoke is like a sign. It says something, right? Like if you see smoke in the distance, you might think, is something on fire? If you see a big column of black smoke, you'd be like, whose house is on fire? Because that's what it looks like. Astonishingly, it looks awful if you've ever seen that, But it also obscures, does it not? It can be confusion. When the Lord appeared to Moses, he descended on the mountain in smoke and fire. And Moses had to go into the darkness where God was. That he was actually hidden from the eyes of men by darkness. You say, oh, God is dark, light, and there is no darkness in him. It's not that there is darkness in God. There's darkness, neither shadow of turning. But God uses darkness, which is merely our inability to see and to pierce through things, to hide himself from us. He hid himself in the thick darkness of the emptiness. The fact that we cannot pierce the darkness to see through to the dimensions where God is visibly present. So this smoke is a smoke that obscures. The smoke comes out of the pit, and the sun and the air are darkened. The darkening of the sun has already occurred from the fourth trumpet, right? And maybe this is, and it may all happen very rapidly on top of each other, so that it's really not discernible what is. I take this as more of a symbolic smoke, because we already have the sun and the air darkened, right? But this is a further, let's put it this way. What is described here is an invasion of the earth. From where? From the pit of the abyss, from the abyssal. It means bottomless pit, means literally boundless. From the infinite void. You know what I mean? From another dimension, as far as I'm concerned. He opens up what an interdimensional portal to the realm of whatever, and when he's cast out of heaven, it's like he's able to go from wherever they are now, which is not in as far as in our world even really, except maybe spiritually, to come enter this world in a visible physical presence. That's what I believe. It could be spiritual. It's like inhabiting some men who now are more demonic possessed than ever, but I just think that's not, well, keep an eye out for that also. You know what I mean? Because, I am not so, I'm confident in this, that I know the scriptures. I'm not confident that I know what they all mean. And so what I say, take with that in mind. I think it is useful in that it is the word of someone who has spent a long time thinking about these things, but also the word of someone who knows is certain that he does not. I don't claim like I have no special revelation of divine knowledge that at least, however the knowledge comes to me, if it is of the Spirit of God, it has come in the mundane way. Yeah, I mean, it's come just the mundane way, meaning if he's guiding me to the truth, then the things I speak are true. Sometimes it's easier to tell certain things when they're true. But I strongly feel that the invasion is of a supernatural nature. And symbolically we'll give the reasons why. It could just refer to men who are demon possessed, I guess. I don't know. Or, or it could be, here's the thing, if it's absolutely literal, then you don't need to think much about it, because even the heathen will recognize this as bad. But I think the cartoonish nature of this is a sign that this is a symbolic thing. There is something hidden here. The first 4 trumpets are meant to really alert you, right? To alert the world even. Something big's about to happen. Then the 5th one comes. And everyone else is already ready for the end of the world and for maybe Jesus to appear. It is only those who know their God and who know the word of the Lord who will understand when the 5th trumpet, when the events unfold, they will understand. This will be a signal to us. The first 4 are open. The last 3 are woe trumpets, and they are woes, I think, part because people lose track of them. They stop seeing the signs. They stop understanding what they're seeing. The first 4 things happen, and it's like, wow, these cataclysms, the earth is rocked, shaken to its foundations. And I know it's not a foundation, whatever. Shaken to its foundations, metaphorically. The earth is shaken. It has a foundation. It has a core. So there comes out of the smoke locusts. That they are characterized as locusts is significant. In the Old Testament, we have a numerous, not numerous, but there are several times, like the book of Joel, where the armies of God, of the enemies of God's people, are described in terms of locusts. And it has reference, 1, to their ubiquity, but 2, to the nature of their coming. Locusts are regarded as a plague. They devour crops. They come in a swarm. And so it's going to be like this ubiquitous invasion of these. It's Satan. Satan is cast out, and his angels are cast out with him. This is them. That's what I think. So they have power as the scorpions of the earth have power, meaning they have the power to hurt, to sting with their tails. I remember, I'm going to address this, it seems silly. I remember Arnold Murray used to talk about how scorpions take their prey and they vomit their digestive juices into the prey and then slurp up the dissolved. That's actually irrelevant, because they're not saying they eat things the way scorpions eat things. They're not killing them. And scorpions, when they kill and eat, they may do that. I don't know. I've never really studied the scorpion with any attention like that, as far as like their habits. Probably should. It would help to understand this, I suppose, to some degree. But I know this. They have tails, and they have stings in their tails. And they sting with those things, right? They have scorpion tails. That means they can sting. They hurt. And it is a pain. Now, some scorpion stings are deadly, right? But these are not. They're just really painful. So they're going to torment the inhabitants of the earth. And I already started talking about that. But not the men who have the seal of God on their foreheads. So that makes it interesting. Because I know eventually the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against the saints and shall overcome them and kill them. The 2 witnesses being the saints, being the 2 candlesticks. The 2 witnesses are the saints. The 2 witnesses are the church in the book of Revelation. All you got to do is make the connection. I mean, it's one of the, like I said, it's a prophetic slam dunk. It doesn't require, I think that people probably don't look for that, and a lot of people don't notice that because they just don't want to see it or something. You know what I mean? Like, or I guess that it's a part of the way we're conditioned. If it talks about two witnesses, people think in terms of stars. So they think of the two witnesses in terms of Moses and Elijah, or Elijah and Enoch. They think of some great figure from the past. Just as when, in the time of Jesus, John the Baptist, Jesus declared that he was Elijah, which was for to come. But people, they didn't recognize him as the one who, as the new Elijah, so to speak, the prophet. The new prophet who stood alone against the corrupt system. And they didn't recognize him. You know, oh, that's Elijah? John did no miracle. Elijah did all kinds of miracles. But Jesus declared that John was Elijah, which was for to come. So, that was a little too strong, I think. It's too hot. Let's open up the top. So also the prophets of the end times, people already don't recognize them. Like in the book, they can't even in the book of Revelation see like, oh, there's the church. Well, they want to think that the two witnesses are two special people. Even people I know who know the prophecy as I've taught it, somehow they have trouble like latching onto that, and they still think that they're still looking for special people, for some hero to come down, human, instead of realizing that we have to stand together. And everyone always wants to be a superstar. I understand, I do, but you know, we don't need superstars right now. The Lord Jesus will serve. The only superstar in the end times is going to be the devil. He's going to be the superstar. Just described here. He's a star from heaven. To him was given the bottomless pit. He's the destroyer. So and it's clear that these are not natural locusts, because their purpose is not to eat grass or to destroy the trees, even though the forest has already been devastated. Or maybe not. Maybe that was symbolic. I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to not have that. Then it's not much of a signal, because if you get I imagine you get all these signals of these catastrophic events happening to the earth, the sea and the waves roaring, tsunamis perhaps, right, from the mountain falling into the sea, and all the ships destroyed, all this just massive destruction, devastation, like saying, hey, the end of the world is coming. Then out of the midst of all of this destruction appears the devil and his angels. And what do? They come down and go like, we're gonna be nice. We love everybody. No. Alma used to say, he's not gonna hurt anybody. I think he's gonna come, and first thing he's gonna do is persecute his own people. First thing he's gonna do is come. He wants to, because they're already damned. Right? So what he's going to do is he's coming to cause the church to fall away. The 5 churches. He's coming to claim the churches which he is deeply embedded in. You know, where Satan's seat is. His fingers are running deep through these fake Christians, essentially. Because those who have washed their garments and are standing with Christ are going to be departing those churches. Well, those churches are all going to go over to the devil. They already are mostly to the devil, but they're going to show their true allegiance. They're going to really fill up their sins to the full. They're going to become drunken with the blood of saints and such. You know, the great whore, the great fornicator. You know, because fornication refers to when it's sex out of wedlock, but in terms of marriage, it is when a betrothed girl is, you know, when she fornicates before her wedding. That is a big thing in the Old Testament. That's when, you know, people, when they try, I had a guy say to me, like, you believe in stoning girls for not being virgins? I'm like, wait a second, that's not exactly how it goes. It's when she's supposed to be married to somebody, you know, it presents and says, I'm a virgin, and then marries the guy, and then he finds out that was a lie. So they said, stone that girl. And he said, how can you justify it? I'm like, well, maybe she deserves it. whoa. It's like, wait, you lied to somebody like that? To me, it's like a deterrent. It's like what you do is you don't marry the guy. You confess your sin in who you were with, and then you have to marry that loser. I'm just saying that's probably how it worked out. In fact, that the law also covered that. If a man sleep with a girl, he's got to marry her. If his father is even pleased, if he isn't, he has to pay. There's fines and stuff to protect that. And I can make a lot of arguments why. And I'm not saying, are you saying we should do that? I'm just saying, like, you're suggesting that's immoral. What I suggest is immoral is lying to someone about your status. I've always said that if people have fornicated and they get married knowing that, then that's no excuse for divorce. All right, that's a sidetrack. But it's kind of has something to do with it. Because Satan is going to seduce. The whole point of when he's called the son of perdition in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, that's where it's saying, now about the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and our gathering together to him, I want you to neither be shaken in your mind or troubled by anything, by a letter from us or by someone preaching something, neither by spirit nor by word nor by letter from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and a falling away first, an apostasy. Literally, the word in Greek is apostasia, which means apostasy. Which means apostasy, apostasia, apostasy. What does that mean? Apo, off, stasia, falling, or standing off, or stasia. I believe it means standing off, and therefore falling away. It means falling away, even though I think it literally translates standing off. Stasia? Yeah, I think so. Could be wrong. You can look that up, but whatever. We usually say falling away. It means the falling away from the truth, the falling away from Christ. And the falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Perdition is Apolia. His name is called Apollyon. And what does the son of Apolia do? He is he who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. I'm God. That's what showing himself means. It doesn't mean like, I guess I'm God. It means making a show. What better show could he do than when he calls down fire from heaven? What better show could it be than when they worship the dragon, which gives power to the beast? They worship the beast and they worship the dragon. And they will worship the son of perdition, who is Apolia. To me, it's a lot of times it's just different aspects of the same thing. And that's what I suspect. So they have power to hurt them. I think first thing he's going to come do is they're not going to kill people. People are going to want to die, but they're not going to kill themselves. Because they're going to say, what's the point? If Jesus comes, there's no point in killing yourself, because you're going to sort of expect, well, I'll kill myself, and then I'll just be there again. Because I'm going to stand before him in judgment, no matter what. What's the point of death? Like, as far as if you can't escape the judgment, might as well wait to be judged. And there's going to be torment. You could say, now, well, I do think he will turn on them in some way, at least at the very least. I don't know if there's going to be sadistic torture, though. The way some Christians teach it, why would you expect anything else? Maybe maybe Satan should bring out a nice big vat of lava and just slowly lower people in or something, and then pull them out a bit and heal them. I only say that because it's like, I don't know why. I find a bizarre sort of, I don't know. I don't believe in eternal torment. I believe there's some sort of metaphorical meaning to that we're not getting. I believe in death. The second death is death. It is not a metaphorical death. The death is literal. The torment is metaphorical. There's both mentioned at the end. And so one is metaphor, one is literal. So how do you determine which one is which? Say, well, definitely death, the idea of a second death, that's totally a metaphor because you're actually alive and experiencing eternal torment. It's like eternal torment, that's, like, I don't see any reason in that context how you can determine that one is metaphorical and the other is literal. I determine it through the context of the entire scripture that is what it is. It's got to be one or the other. And you have to explain every passage that talks about the destruction of the wicked and say, well, that's just a metaphor. Destroy metaphorically. Souls destroyed metaphorically. Perishing metaphorically. There's tons of scriptures along those lines. And then you have to say, whereas it's not hard to go around and do the opposite. And I'm going to do that study. I owe it. But this torment, is it? Because torment is meant to do something. It has an effect. There's a purpose. There should be a purpose in torment. And as Jesus says, like when Peter denied Christ for the third time, he went out and wept bitterly. There was torment in that. He suffered for his disloyalty. Or at least for his, however you want to characterize it, okay? He suffered for it. And so the people who have not the seal of God on their forehead. Now that's interesting, because honestly I thought he would turn on his own people, okay? But now I'm thinking about it. It's like, well, people who have not the seal of God on their forehead are not going to know. They may be even Christians, but not know what's going on. And so they will also experience whatever this torment represents. Torment is basanizo or something like that. Let's see. I'll bring it up here. You won't be able to see it, unfortunately, but I'm going to just so you don't watch me look. Watching me look at the internet while you can't see what I'm looking at seems to me that's kind of like, Okay, here we are in chapter 9 on Bible Hub, which is my chosen website for looking at the Bible, just because I like. See the way these words highlight? If you look at Bible Hub on your computer, /KJVS Revelation, KJVS, /KJVS means King James Version Strongs. And it has the Strongs embedded in here, Strong's Concordance numbers. And so, when I highlight these, I get, when I hold it over them, a little mini window pops up with the definition. And that's what you would see if you also look there. All right. And I say that a lot, but then I think about people just, the study's growing, so I mentioned that. It's going to, and again, to them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. Is exousia, power to act, authority. Where is the torment? Basanizo, to torture. 928. Basanismos, 929, torture. Yeah. And the word basanismos comes from a root that means to, and I always wrestle over this. What does this mean? To test metal by the stone, by sparking metals on the touchstone. That's where it comes from. And it means to put to a destructive test. Because when you test metals by sparking it, you destroy some of the metal, right? And it's kind of like testing people by sparking them. That's what torment is. You know what I mean? The ordeal. And they have like trial by ordeal in the old days. Trial by torture. And how you come through that. I mean, it's like, and people say, well, it's barbaric. It certainly is. But on some level, we all go through an ordeal in our life. We are tried by torture, tried by suffering. Jesus was tried by suffering, was he not? Was he not tormented? Are we not all tormented in this world in some way or the other? I mean, more or less, right? Some people suffer much more than others. And you can have those acute points of suffering where you're really suffering. Like someone who gets tortured. Right? They're captured by some evil people who torture and kill them. You know, that those things happen in the world. The world is a dangerous and a place filled with violence and evil. Not filled up, but it's like it's out there. So the torment here. So what I want to say is that the idea, and this is the same word torture used throughout the Bible, but the implication is they are being put through an ordeal. You know what I mean? It's not, a lot of time we get this whenever we see torment, we think only of the activity. Like we think, well, they're going to put them on the rack, or they're going to burn them with fire. What is it? They go through an ordeal. It means they are sort of tested with a destructive thing. And the whole thing of that is it reveals things. That's what Basanizo does. The idea of torture is a sort of a judicial thing. They would torment to extract information, put them through an ordeal to find out the result. That's why I think that the idea of eternal torment has to be some sort of metaphor. Because there's no point of eternal torment. Just as there's really no point to a metaphorical death. Because it's like, well, might as well just come up with a new word. Because if death is a metaphor, then death doesn't exist. Literally. I mean, literally, then it just doesn't exist. It's just, we're just calling something, they're dead, but there's nothing like death. Torment is an ordeal. So they are put through an ordeal because they do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And what it is as it says in Isaiah 28, morning by morning shall I pass over, by day and by night, and it shall be a vexation to understand the report. And that scripture always really stuck with me in Isaiah, because it talks about this overwhelming scourge passing through the land. You know, this overwhelming, the whip of God sort of coming through. And it would be so overwhelming and so just all over you. I say ubiquitous. I keep saying that because I don't know another word for, all encompassing. Okay. Sorry. It's so everywhere. I got to learn to talk with a 5th grade vocabulary. I do. I really want to try to do that. And it's not dumbing down your speech. It's just clarifying your communication and making it understandable to the widest amount of people. So when I say that, it's not meant to indicate that people listening to me are not intelligent. But what if someone who is not a native English speaker, and I start using, $20 words, I got to, not do that. So the thing about big words is they're nice. It's just such a shortcut. I just instantly said a word that perfectly encompasses what I'm trying to say. And it's hard to let go of that. They're going through they're facing off against the devil and his angels come down. And it's going to be such a I was referencing Isaiah 28. It is just so difficult. The whip coming through the land would be so overwhelming, and it would be a perplexity. It'd be just total confusion trying to understand what's going on. And that's the ordeal that people of the earth are going to go through. They're not going to be able, at the 5th trumpet, it's going to be the most trying of all. Because there will not be unity within Christianity. Because, when Satan appears, one of the things when Jesus appears that's supposed to happen is in the moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, he appears and we are changed. And, that's the rapture. Everyone believes that when Jesus returns, we will be changed. Now, the difference is the rapture people believe it's some sort of separate event from the resurrection. And that when Jesus returns later on, there's a resurrection. Even though there's nobody left in the ground to get, they're coming back for their bodies. You know what I mean? Why would you come back for your body? I remember, I don't know if everyone believes that, but it's like, I don't know how you're going to have a first resurrection I guess it's just the people who died during the tribulation, right? Wow, the first resurrection is actually the third group of people to be raised. We which are alive and remain to the coming of the Lord will not precede them which are asleep. That's what it teaches. That's what the Lord Jesus taught, or that's what the Apostle Paul taught. But also the Lord Jesus taught it in the Mark 13, Matthew 24. In those days after that affliction, after that tribulation, the sun shall be dark and the moon shall give her light and the stars of heaven shall fall, and etc., etc. And then shall he send his angels, and shall gather together his chosen from the four winds, from the uttermost part of earth to the uttermost part of heaven. The Lord is going to gather together his elect. He's going to raise the dead. And he's going to raise the dead first and then gather us together. But the point is, we're supposed to be changed. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 gives a lot of detail about what exactly, how are the dead raised and with what sort of body do they come? And he makes it clear there that we are to be changed into a new body, just as when Jesus was transfigured. Just as the dead raised will not be raised as, half-rotted zombies or fully rotted or dust, because a lot of people, that's all that's left. A lot of them, their bones are scattered. But from back, like I said, if there's no body left, then just as Adam, they will come forth of the dust of the earth. The point is just that the dead are going to rise. And we which are alive are supposed to be caught up with him in the air and changed. Satan will not be able to do this, not in the sense that we expect. So it's going to cause, so people without the seal of God, though, are going to have perplexity. They're going to be confused. Because he's going to come and be claiming to be Christ and performing miracles. And he's going to have angels with him. And they're going to be doing things. And everyone in the world is going to be absolutely, especially Christians who are not sealed, who are basically, they're going to fall away. They're going to be extremely confused because they're not going to understand. Because one, they don't know what to expect. Two, it's just going to be really confusing. You can see that. If you're expecting that's why I say, though, that people believe in the rapture. It's not guaranteed that they're going to, because you don't have to have, the seal of God is not like I know the facts about the book of Revelation, or I know the facts about who the Antichrist comes before the Lord returns. It's not just that. Because even if you think you know that, you can still be deceived. Because I'm telling you, it's going to be such a powerful deception. How many miracles have you seen in your lifetime? How many angels have you seen? Has the Lord spoken to you with a voice that thunders out of heaven? What are we going to do when a supernatural entity is walking around the earth, claiming to be God, and performing miracles? What are we going to do? We're going to say, no, he's an alien pretending to be Jesus. Or, like I said, the idea that he's going to be an alien saying, I'm an alien and I'm God. It's hard to, that would harden Christian opposition. Some people would go over. But there would be no 5 out of 7, I don't think. It would be, you'd have a lot of resistance against that. And it wouldn't even be, not only Christians. As if it goes straight supernatural, it's much more deceiving. Though we or an angel from heaven preach another gospel. So they will be pained, at least. So, is it going to be physical pain? At least symbolically. I don't know. It means there's going to be, I do think it is more of a spiritual, like they will be at pain. They will be, they will look as though they're in that kind of pain, because especially, total unbelievers are going to be terrified for their lives. And they will seek death. As it says, so even if he doesn't persecute his people actively, well, that could be part of the show. Is this Jesus? He's punishing people. All those celebrities you hate, you'll feel more sorry for them maybe than you ever have in your life. The devil is not kind to his own. I think the idea that they will seek that they will want to die, and death shall flee from them. I don't think that's a like they're just gonna start knifing themselves. I can't die. I don't know. That would seem really. I think this is a little more subtle than that. I think that it becomes that they just literally don't. They're afraid to die, and so they don't kill themselves. I think that's the idea that they will wish they could die, but they won't. I don't think it means it's literally impossible to die. Like no one will die during that time. It's just like the millennium, and maybe that's so. You know, maybe they'll just be long. Maybe there's just suspension of death for a while. Everyone who's here when that starts is alive when it ends. I don't know. Okay, now we get to the description of the locusts. And before we begin that, only 10 minutes left. Oh, Lordy. Subscribe. There it is. Subscribe. More studies. It's all linked in the description below. Here's the question and answer. You can send your questions there. Leave them in the comment section. That's fine too, etc., etc. I'm going to peek into the live chat. Nothing going on. That's just fine. And we go back to what we were doing. Okay. So the description, and again, we'll probably have to... There we go. The shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. I described this as an invasion. And part of it is they are outfitted like invaders. And they may appear as horsemen, literally or metaphorically. On their heads are crowns like gold. Let's just think it says like gold. Not crowns of gold. But it speaks to the seeming royalty. The seeming elegance. The seeming of wealth and power, right? It seems like these are the wealthy and powerful angels of heaven. But their faces are as the faces of men because they are, in essence, humanoid. These are humanoid angels. They will at least appear to be as men. As horses prepared unto battle. Soldiers, fighters, the armies of heaven. But they come from hell. Or from the bottomless pit, which is not the same thing as hell. But it was fun to say that. The faces were as the faces of men. They had hair as the hair of women. They're beautiful. Women's hair is the glory of the female, is a thing of beauty. And so they had long, glorious hair like women. I mean, they were fair to look upon. They had faces of men, but not like, you know, the mugs of your standard male. They had male faces, but beautiful. Teeth were as the teeth of lions, but they bite with sharp teeth. You know, they had a bite. It speaks to their ferocity. All the things you can imagine that the teeth of lions symbolize is what is part of them. They're vicious, carnivorous. They come to devour men. They have breastplates, as it were, breastplates of iron, invincible. They were just absolutely protected with iron breastplates. Very, very strong, as opposed to like copper or whatever. Iron is always symbolic of strength, right? Even to this day, he's got iron in his blood. His legs were like sinewy bands of iron, or whatever. Let's say someone has an iron gut. We still use these terms metaphorically just like that. Even as it were, though that's a simile actually. It's very, as it were breastplates of iron. They're well protected. Their vital organs all far from our, we can't touch them. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And because remember, it's locusts, right? And they invade. So it's like an onrushing army. It is an invasion. In from John's perspective, he may have seen completely just a vision of, like, he's literally describing what he's seen. You know what I mean? The locusts. But they're shaped like horses prepared to battle. The faces of men. These things are all revealed so that we understand we're not talking about these grotesque creatures, but something more deceptive. How do I scroll down again? And they had tails like scorpions. Again, the thing I think of prophetically, because I always look at prior prophetic examples to understand. The ancient and honorable are the head, and the prophet that teacheth lies is the tail. That's from the prophet. I believe that's from Isaiah. Whatever. You can look that up. The exact reference. It's not my job to be Mr. Concordance. Or Mr. Google, because you can find that. But prophet that teacheth lies, tail. And that's from the Old Testament, a concept. The head and the tail. It's like the first and the last. There is a idea that the head, there's this danger, and the tail. That's the thing about a scorpion. It does have danger in front with the pincers and all that, or a serpent. But like scorpions, they have a tail that stings. Snakes only have heads that sting, right? They have the head with the bite. And these don't have the heads of scorpions. They have lion's heads, so they can bite up front. There's danger up front, but also the tail. A lot of times, with creatures that have deadly fronts, the idea of like a tail coming around and stinging you unexpected from the back, is not expected. And that's why it says it's this sort of idea of a secondary weapon. This is like in the world, the ancient, the honorable, the kings, the rulers, they are one danger. And their heads are crowns like gold. And they have the teeth of lions. They're marching to battle. They're, but back in the seedy side of things, you got your prophets that teach lies. And undermining people's ability to discern the truth. You know what I mean? And that's where the torment comes from, that tail. In a sense that has where the lies are hit. It is the sting of the lies that undermines the reason that people are confused and perplexed at the appearance of these things. The sting of it is in the tail. It's not so much the outward appearance, because it's just a thing. But what really makes it painful is all the lies they've been fed over the years. All the lies we bought into. The rapture doctrine is going to, I'll tell you what, it's not going to make people deceived automatically, but it's surely going to contribute to difficulty for some if they are not, unless they have the seal of God. Unless they're sealed up and to me that means that your relationship with God is strong and you've been living the Christian life, honoring God and paying attention to His Word. Like I said, we need to move through our Christian experience, go from faith to faith, adding to our faith virtue, to virtue knowledge, to knowledge temperance, brotherly kindness, patience, all the things that accompany salvation, all the good things. Built up in those things, built up in God's Word, so that we have the wisdom under any circumstances to know what we're supposed to do, know what the right thing to do is. If the world is invaded by supernatural beings, some people don't understand what the right thing to do is. They don't have that seal in them where God has put his stamp on them. You belong to me, and no one can get inside your head. And, you know, right in the forehead, this is one of mine. Can't get in there. That's why this has no torment for the servants of God, their appearance and all that. Our problem comes later because we continually speak against it. And that will also contribute to the torment. Because it says, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. First, they're tormented by the appearance of Satan. But eventually, they become comforted in him. They go over to him. They worship him. And we are continually saying that they ought not do this. And as he solidifies his power, then he turns and looks on the servants of God and makes war against them, putting them to death. And after the last of them are slain, because it could take, maybe his little lieutenants come and find me, kill me early or something, you know? I don't know. I don't think we all got to die. But I'm just saying, like, when they start rejoicing, when they're no longer tormented by the servants of God, when the world starts acting like it's Christmas, the return of Jesus is going to be just in a couple more days. You know what I mean? Like, but what I'm saying is, like, so you may die, months before the end, as far as I know, and still be part of the church, of course. But whatever the final act is, it's not entirely clear to me. But you'll be able to tell it's the final act because they'll start celebrating that all the servants of God are dead, and they are no longer tormented by their presence and by the plagues they smite the earth with. And they had a king over them. And so the 5-month period here, real quick. I remember Arnold Murray used to say that means the whole tribulation is shortened to 5 months. I don't see that. I just think that their initial outbreak is a 5-month period, or perhaps maybe the first 4 trumpets. People talk about 7-year tribulation. I always see it as I always see 3.5 years. I guess you gotta go to Daniel and then but I always thought the first 3.5 years were already fulfilled. That's something I suspect. It's not something I'm saying with authority. If it's a 3.5 year period, the Lord Jesus suggested it was shortened. Even so, I don't think it was shortened by that much. But perhaps only the period where the Antichrist is present, or at least where their initial outbreak is, 5-month period to solidify power. I don't know. I don't know what the 5-month signifies. I know it's like May. There's a time when the locust appears between May and September. There's a 5-month period. That's normal, natural, the natural time of the locust. But there's 42 months spoken of. 40 and 2 months from chapter 11. That's when the 2 witnesses prophesy. So, I don't know. But after 5 months, things change, at the very least. They had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, who is bound in the bottomless pit. And I saw an angel came down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan. He had to come down from heaven to get him because he's on the earth. And bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, the boundless abyss, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him. If there ever was a limbo, it's the bottomless pit. Cast him into limbo. That's a reference to a Catholic doctrine of where do when you're in limbo, when you're in a place where you're neither in heaven nor hell, right? Because the bottomless pit is never characterized as anything except a boundless abyss. A boundless pit. A pit with no boundaries. but sealed up. So, you know what I mean? It's like you go through the door and then the door disappears and you're just nowhere, I guess. Or at least metaphorically. You know, it's metaphorically, he's going to be shut up away from everything and so on and so forth. Satan is the angel of the bottomless pit. He is Abaddon. He is the king of this army that comes forth. And I think that's just quite very clear. One woe is past. Behold, there come two more woes hereafter. So the woe trumpets are very critical trumpets. They're the ones that people are going to get confused at. They're going to be tormented over. They're going to be going through an ordeal. And because they will, and even if you think you see it coming, like I said, this goes to be, well, I know Antichrist comes first. That knowledge is not enough to prevent you from betraying that. It's like, well, you know, God forgives me for doing this and that and the other, and I can just do whatever I want. You know, when you live your whole life sort of in defiance of the will of heaven, knowing that it's going to be a certain way is not going to necessarily prevent you from being seduced by it. Because who knows, you know, I've often said, like, you know, Judas, for 30 pieces of silver, betrayed his Lord. What would you betray him for? You know? Well, I know that, you know, and also, like, because you deceive yourself. You'll think, like, maybe this is it. Maybe, you know, the God, you know, a God in the hand is worth two in the bush. You know, maybe we should go along with this because save my skin right now, maybe repent later. I'm telling you, people get. I remember when I was young, and it's understandable. Okay, I thought I'm going to stand against the devil. I'm going to be so strong, and then went through my life, and I saw how poorly I stood against him, even in this world right now. You know what I mean, I remember just couldn't. I remember for years I couldn't quit smoking, or I couldn't quit this, or I couldn't control that. Couldn't stick to my studies. Couldn't do whatever, you know. Found myself in 1,000 little ways unable to direct my path. How in the world, if I can't be faithful in that which is least, how ever am I going to be faithful in the time of great trouble? And the only way ultimately is with the Lord's assistance. And that's the ultimate truth, is that none of us is going to stand by their own power. And so let us be exercised in the Lord's power moving through us. Relying on the Lord's power now. Learning to submit to his will and submit to his leading will it gives me greater confidence to believe that I can resist such an ordeal. You know, that to think that, like, yeah, you know what, I do think I have the seal, because there's no way that could happen. You know what I mean? And honestly, I don't know that I can know that, but the Lord knows. You know, the Lord knows ultimately who will stand and who will fall, because he has chosen them. They that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. All right. So that concludes the fifth trumpet. I'm glad we got through all that today. And then on Monday, we will go into the sixth trumpet. Thanks for joining me in this study. I look forward to studying with you again soon. Let me just... I guess I closed the window that had the music in it. Oh no, you can see what folder it's in. All right. Yeah, that's the wrong drive, actually. All right, here we go. Here we go. I must have outro music. You can just... All right. I'm drawing a blank. Video projects. There we go. Streaming. Intro music. Scroll down. It's got to be the right one. All right, whatever. Out.